Welcome to the magical journey beyond mediocrity, where the mystical and the practical become aligned. You're listening to Meant for More, the Seeker's Guide to Success, with your host, Seeker's Guide and coach, Kristen Lloyd. Kristen guides you through mindset shifts to increase your consciousness and live your best life. So let's leave mediocrity behind and step into your magical, magnificent life with Kristen.
Welcome back, everyone, to Meant for More, the Seeker's Guide to Success. I am your host and Seeker's Guide, Kristen Lloyd. Thank you for being here and tuning in for today's show. This is episode 22 of the Meant for More show, and we are now accepting call-ins. If you want to jump on the call and get into the conversation, the number is 248-629-0921. And during our show today, Jennifer, our special guest, will be doing soul coaching, laser-focused soul coaching, and mini intuitive readings. Yay! Today, our guest is Jennifer Urezzio. Jennifer specializes in helping people connect to themselves, to each other, and to the divine. She founded a new paradigm, Soul Language, which provides guidance for understanding our true nature and tools for accessing deeper levels of awareness. This new insight into how the soul expresses itself is being embraced by top healers, lifestyle coaches, and CEOs all over the world as a method for helping people recognize their purpose and live from a place of power and truth. Jennifer is the author of 2 books, Soul Language, Consciously Connecting with Your Soul for Success, and a Little Book of Prayers, both available on Amazon. To learn more about Jennifer, you can visit www.soullanguage.us. Welcome, Jennifer.
I am so excited and honored to be here. Thank you so much.
Thank you for being here. I'm so excited. And I also want to mention to everyone, if you are having trouble calling in, please use the chat box as well on boldradiostation.com. Jennifer, you are here. You have had an amazing journey that I want to share with everyone because I know you personally, and I've had the ultimate blessing of being able to work with you, and you are phenomenal, and everyone, Jennifer, is phenomenal. But the first question that I ask everyone on the show is to share your journey to more, to share to how you came to found this new paradigm and to utilize this platform of really helping others connect with their soul. So please share with us your journey to more.
I would like to say that it was a straight line, but of course it wasn't.
It never is.
It
you
never
know that.
Is. And I would like to say, I went willingly, but sometimes I didn't. I was in marketing and PR. I was part of a firm founded by a former producer of The View and Barbara Walters specials. She's my best friend. And we were the people that you called when you wanted to get your client on TV, and you couldn't do it. And I wasn't allowed to talk to clients because I would tell them the truth. And I could feel that there was something bigger inside of me, and I was really angry. I was so angry.
And the truth was what? But the truth was what? When you would tell them the truth that they just hadn't...
Whatever it was, whether it's you're out of integrity or, hey, we can't make a round box square and a square box round. It wouldn't matter. In corporate America, people really don't want to hear the reality of a situation. They, want to be yes. And I was never a yes girl. Mm-hmm. And so I really started to kind of pursue this thing that was bigger inside of me. And through a series of lefts and rights, and I was speaking at a conference about essential oils and life purpose because I can look at someone's energy and go, you need this oil or you need that oil. And I got off the platform and there was a line to talk to me. And I was like, what's going on? And people are like, can you help me find my guides and teachers? Can you talk to me about past lives? And I was like, oh, yeah, sure. And I started doing these sessions. And at the same conference, I heard, I sat down next to this woman who went, we're going to be friends. And I went, yeah, what is that internally? And what I heard was soul language. And from there, I kept asking questions. And before long, I had this way of putting some tangibility to soul. Not to put anyone in a box, but to understand and put words to what you know deep down inside so you can accept it and then express it very clearly. And I started pursuing that, and I started, identifying people's soul languages. And I was talking to this woman who knew nothing about the 107 languages, knew nothing about the 3 categories of soul. And we identified her as a partner. I said, how does that resonate with you? And she said, before we got on the phone, I asked myself if Jennifer asked me what my soul language would be. She said, and I wrote down the word partner, which is what we identified her as. And I started hysterically crying. And she's like, oh my God, are you okay? Now, I'm a warrior. So for me to cry, it's pretty big. And I went, yeah, I'm fine, but you just told me I'm not crazy. And that was one of the moments where I finally went, okay, this is going to be big. This is going to help people. And then, you take that next intuitive step. You take that next divinely inspired action. And I'm always asking for more internally and externally. A mentor of mine mentioned Big Magic, Elizabeth Gilbert's book. And I'm like,
right.
And, I'm on the page 18. And I'm like, I don't think I need to read any more of this book because the first, pages are so right on the money.
Right.
That I'm like, yeah, fear is boring. And life does take courage. And being that warrior, I know the way to get more is always to go deeper into courage and move through that fear, whatever it is.
Yeah. And so in you stepping into this, how long did it take you to kind of develop the soul languages? Did it just come to you like as a download or?
Yes. Every day I would write. So I would actually set time aside and I actually walk people through that process of downloading a paradigm. And what I realized, Kristen, was I was collecting this information for years because I would ask a question and a book would literally fall off my bookshelf. And I'd be like, oh, okay, that's the answer. And so before long, about 6 months, I had the beginning of what soul language was, the beginning of the 107 definitions. The book itself took a year with my publisher and editors to edit. So it all sounded alike, and we would go through that book and the editor would be like, well, I don't understand what this line means for, this language definition. I was like, I don't understand what that means either. But if you ask that person who speaks that language, they get it totally clear. And, it got to such a point of like really collaboration that at one point we were down to the last edit of the last language. And I was like, I don't know. I just don't know. And the editor came back with, do you mean this? Blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh my God, he actually wrote, what was in my head that I couldn't get out because I was so exhausted with it, and kind of downloading a paradigm or any creative content. I think people get all locked up because they want it to be perfect. I say, write on napkins, record into your iPad and then worry about editing it later. Let's get it out. Let's get that expression out. And then you can decide what to do with it.
So for our listeners that are not familiar with soul language, what is soul language?
It's putting some tangibility to what we call soul, that essential nature, that core energy of you, that part of your divinity. And we each have 3 core energies of soul. We call those languages. So you speak one language in 3 different categories. Your mission, how you fuel that mission, and then your soulful personality, which really means how your soul prefers to go through life. And then when we identify a person's soul language, we can create a one-liner of their soul. And that becomes this benchmark for them of consciousness. So my 3 languages are, my mission here is equalizer. It's all about providing the perfect formula of balance for myself and for others. I fuel that mission through my language called Teacher of Integrity, which we share in common. And,
yes.
Right? And all of our lives, we've been able to see where people are out of the consciousness of love. We can offer them tools or guidance for them to move back into consciousness of love. And for me, that means they're back into balance. And then my third language, how I prefer to go through life, my soul prefers to do things in life, is called Graceful Warrior. Action, movement, courage, and grace. And so my one-liner for myself and for others is, I create balance through love, integrity, courage, and grace. And I know, Kristen, if I'm not being that for me, my life is going to be full of struggle. And then I can have that conversation with my soul to move from unconscious, which is struggle, to consciousness, which is remembering I'm whole and complete. And what that allows people to do is it allows them to easily connect to that intuition, that guidance, that higher self. There's so many different words to it. But that's basically what soul language is. It's just putting words to what we know deep down inside.
Why is listening to one's soul so important?
It's like this. It's like having a GPS in your car, setting up where you want to go, and then the little GPS tells you where you want to go, and you go, yeah, no, I'm going to go left. When we listen to our soul, it's such an ease. It kind of makes our life more graceful. It gives us this safe port in every storm. Now, does that mean that everything is going to be like rainbows and Care Bears? No. But it gives you this place of understanding that you're always going to be safe, that you're always going to be loved, that you're always going to be supported. And in reality, our soul, our essential nature, knows much more than our little tiny brains could ever come up with. And so when you take the time to listen to soul, that allows you to avoid a lot of pitfalls or challenges in life. And here's the perfect example. I'm at the airport. Now, me and airports, I got to be there 3 hours ahead because it's not really a graceful transition with me in airports. I don't know why, but it isn't. So I'm looking at my wallet and it's blinking at me, right? So now my soul is trying to tell me something through this wallet. And I was like, yeah, I don't have time to listen to you. I go through, the security, I'm walking to the gate, and then there's a water bottle that's blinking at me. I was like, yeah, okay, I don't know. I'm going to pause and I'm going to listen. And what I hear is, buy the water. And I'm like, no, I have water. And I hear, buy the water. And I'm like, okay, fine. And I go into my bag to get my wallet. And I don't have my wallet because you know what? It's back at the check-in where I was originally where it was blinking with me. If I took a second to really pause and listen, I would have picked up my wallet and I would have avoided having to run back, right? It's a very small example, but it's an example that doesn't cause me a huge amount of pain. So if I wasn't listening there, where am I not listening where it really counts? Right. And so when you listen to your soul, it's tapping into a vast amount of knowledge that can really never be put into tangible words. I mean, I'm trying to put tangibility to something that is, indescribable. I'm using silly human words to put words to something so people can connect better with it. Because my sacred purpose is to alleviate suffering through connection. And so this is the system I came up with to help people do that.
And as I hear you tell me this story, I hear that it's similar to an intuition. So how is listening to your soul different from or similar to having an intuitive voice?
I think they're all different words for the same thing. I think the soul, that essential nature, is what prompts that intuitive expression. So if we want to look at the intuitive expression as or the soul rather, as the seed. The intuitive expression or that intuitive thought or impulse are the stems from that seed. I think it's one and the same. You know, we are all energy. And so the soul is just that heartbeat of energy, and intuition is the expression of that. I mean, that's how I feel it to be true.
So if someone who is not used to tuning in, listening in, paying attention to their soul or their intuition, what are some things that they could do to start today that would connect them to their soul or that would connect them to their intuition?
I think the simplest thing that anyone can do is start with one question a day. And that's just before you get ready to leave your house or you start your day, you're just going to take a deep breath. You're going to focus on your tailbone, which grounds and centers you. And you can tune into your heart. If you know your soul languages, you can do it that way. And you can just ask yourself this simple question: what do I need to know today? And then I would make some notes and then go about your day. And at the end of the day, I would go back to those notes and make some more notes. And what you're going to notice after a couple of days is a couple of things. One, how you receive your information. Is it visual? Is it a knowing? Do you, hear a voice? Do you get a sensation? Is it colors? And you're also going to know, you're going to have a sense, a pattern of, oh, that meant this. And oh, I heard that. And look what happened throughout the day. And then after you play with that a little while, then you can start to put some more consciousness into it by asking more questions. I think that most people forget that communication is our greatest tool. And the more we communicate with our soul, the more we have that conversation, the more that back and forth is naturally going to happen.
Yeah. And I remember that was one of the biggest struggles that I had. And as I've been practicing tuning in more, I have opened that channel to receive more messages because, and I don't mind sharing this, but one of the biggest struggles that I had was staying in my head, and the thoughts would circle and circle and circle, but I had to get out of my head and into my soul, into my intuitive voice to listen, because the thoughts were circling. And that was part of what you would say to me is, okay, you're in your head.
And the greatest tool for that is, we often work with divine intelligence. That's your body. It doesn't have free will. If everything's working in your body and you ask it to raise its hand, it's going to comply. It's never going to go, get back to me later. It's never going to do that. So the easiest way to come out of your head is simply to ask divine intelligence to align your mind so it follows your heart. And what will happen is you'll feel this shift, or you'll get that feeling, right?
Right.
And if you have to kind of do that 100 times a day to come back to that making choices based on heart, based on soul, based on your truth, you do it 100 times a day. We live in this instant gratification world. And me being warrior, I'm really into action and instant gratification. This is a practice. Being connected is a practice. It's a choice. And the more you practice it, the more you make that choice, the easier it becomes to make that choice in everyday movements of your life. And then what you'll notice is when a big challenge comes up, it's not so life and death. You get this sense of, okay, well, everything's going to be all right. It's going to work out. And let's see how it unfolds. There's a greater sense of safety.
Right. Which, what I heard was trust. The trust and belief that everything is going to unfold as it should. And there's no need for worry, because so many people end up in worry because they're not in trust.
And trust is a practice. Like, trust is a choosing.
Right.
And, I just activate it. I ask divine intelligence to activate the trust within my system. And it will do that. Your body will absolutely do that. It knows how to do that. You don't have to figure out, how does this all work? And there's been times, when we're talking prior to getting on live, you were like, I'm going to ask you a question about how you your journey to more. And I was like, well, it started with a refrigerator. in all
tell
honesty.
me. Yeah, I want to hear it.
In my 20s, I had a great loss, and at the same time, the refrigerator broke. And so from that moment on, I would listen in the middle of the night to make sure that the refrigerator would go on. And I would be anxiety-ridden about the refrigerator. And it wasn't really about the refrigerator. It was about, oh my God, the pain, the suffering from that great loss. And from that moment, I'm like, okay, I can't live like this. If I have to spend the next 60 years worrying about the refrigerator, I will go insane. And that prompted me to really start, searching for a bigger way to do things, a deeper way to understand how I could, in all sense, heal that, which just means coming back to spirit. And remind myself that that wasn't the truth of me. That was just an experience. And of course, then I didn't have all these words to explain it, but I knew that I couldn't live my life worrying if the refrigerator went on and off. And I knew the moment that kind of was healed when I moved apartments, and I was like, oh, so I'm going to have to, and he's like, no, we got a refrigerator. So if it ever goes out, you don't have to worry. We'll get you a new one. And I burst out hysterically laughing because I'm like, I'm not laughing at you. I'm just laughing at God. Because that was like, whoa, look how far I've come.
Yeah. And the things that I think we worry about are really not what we're actually worried about, right? Because any worry, it has a deeper meaning. It has a deeper underlying message, such as, safety, security.
Yeah. It's all going to come down to that. When I tell people, when you don't know what to treat for or affirmative prayer or to heal, let's just talk about safety, because that's the greatest fear. It's always going to come down to that. And, when I don't know really what's going on in my system, and I don't know, why I'm responding the way I'm responding, I settle down and I tune into safety within me, or I talk to my soul about, okay, why don't I feel safe in this situation? What's going on? What can you tell me? Where do I go from here? And, not feeling safe for warrior energy is really unnerving, because on top of that, then you don't feel like you have courage, so there's all these wonderful layers, and having that knowledge of, what your consciousness is of your soul, kind of a blueprint, is really freeing. I mean, lately I've identified people that speak my same language, and I never do that. It's just in the last 6 months. And I remember reading, the teacher of integrity definition to you, going, oh crap. Look, here it is in black and white, how I've been unconscious. Oh, when we get off the phone, I'm going to do some, seriously connecting and move from unconscious to conscious. It's really there in black and white. And, it's about really connecting and going, okay, I know there's more. And what do I get to let go of or accept or activate or allow internally to move from struggle to embodying the more.
Mm-hmm. And that was something that it wasn't surprising to me, but it made sense. And it was because for a long time I felt really, really stuck. And I was like, okay, God, universe, spirit, divine intelligence, I'm doing the right things. I'm doing the things that I know, but I feel like there's this, brick wall. And when you talk to me about the teacher of integrity, because there were things that just I could not do. I could not be the what I call the sleazy salesperson. And I do not find sales sleazy, but in certain ways that I was seeing other people conduct business. And I was like, wow, they're doing really awesome and they're using these strategies, but I don't feel an integrity using those same strategies. And it was because for me, it was out of alignment.
Right.
And it was not within my integrity. And I was like, okay, why can I not do this? And it was completely because that teacher of integrity within my soul language was like, this isn't happening. And so it's about, and I truly believe that selling is helping. And I truly believe that, that when we share our gifts, with others to help other people grow, that, it comes back. And I truly believe that all of us, who are in this line of work should be duly compensated and also, are clearly helping others to get to where they want to go. But there were certain marketing tactics that I did not feel comfortable with because of that teacher of integrity. It just would not allow me to do it. And you know this.
Yeah, I know it really well.
Yeah, because you're there.
I know it really well. And people will be like, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no. And they're like, well, I don't understand why you're being so resistant. And I was like, but you don't understand. I'm not being resistant. I'm being true to myself. And if I do it that way, it's going to blow up in my face. If I do it this way, there's going to be success. And there's times that I've noticed that, personally being so black and white, could be a pride thing for me, right? Mm-hmm. And then that's another area of healing. I think that a good question that everyone can ask themselves is really understanding what their big truth is, with a capital T.
Right.
My big truth is I'm whole and complete. And if I believe I'm whole and complete, then I have to treat everyone like they're whole and complete, which sometimes isn't the easiest thing to do, but I know that that's truth, and I have to keep choosing that.
Mm-hmm. And what happens when you come across someone who clearly does not see themselves as whole and complete? Because I'm a counselor, psychotherapist, and a coach, so I see people all the time who do not see themselves as whole and complete. And for your work, what do you share with your clients to lead them to their, whether it's to their journey of them feeling whole and complete, or, how do you take them along that path? Is it connecting with their soul language?
I think the first step is connecting. Sometimes we can't, depending on where they are in that, sometimes they can't even get to that connection because they don't feel whole and complete enough or worthy enough to be that connected to themselves and the divine. So we'll start small. I'll ask them, where in their body, is that central energy of feeling lack or feeling unworthy live? And then we'll start to kind of shift that energy first by activating their love in their heart. And I'll say, listen, you might not feel it at first, but I want you to get on the bus with me and know that if we state it, it's happening, whether you feel it yet or not. And then we'll offer that love to themselves and to that area of their body where that energy is stuck. And we'll do that for a while with some other tools until they start to shift and change. And then they'll get on the phone and go, here's what happened. And it was so weird because I said no because I didn't have to people please or I didn't have to, beg for their love. And I'll be like, great, let's move on to let's move on to the next step. And it's about practice. It's about knowing. And sometimes I'll even say, okay, I know that you don't believe that you're whole and complete or you're worthy yet, but can you utilize my belief on that? Can you accept that I believe it? And people will go, yeah. I was like, good. Then there's the seed. Let's open up that seed. And everyone's different. And you know this, Kristen. I don't do Swiss cheese things. I don't do one size program fits all. It's even my programs are very, custom because I work with people who aren't going to do it like anyone else does it. And I'm not going to ask them to do it like someone else does it. I think innovation is so amazing, and I think uniqueness should be really applauded. And, the people that come to me have tried to fit in most of their lives, and when they stop trying to fit in, they find their community.
Yeah. Jennifer, we have a caller. Welcome.
Yay!
Please share your name and a question that you have for Jennifer.
Hey, Jennifer, how are you?
Hi.
My name's Maritza. I'm calling from Florida. I guess my question is, I'm moving into a new direction, so, I'm just trying to get grounded and move forward without getting frustrated on a daily basis. So I don't even know if that's a question. It's just kind of where I'm at today.
Love it. Okay. So in order for anyone to manifest what they want on this planet, they need to be both grounded to the earth and grounded to the sky. When we're going through transition and just being who we are in this day and age, our energy seems to be always in different directions. So what I'm going to do with you, Maritza, right now is I'm going to teach you how to ground yourself to the sky and to the earth. How does that sound?
That sounds perfect.
Okay, so you're going to get on the bus with me. I'm going to use words that you might not understand. It's okay. Just get on the bus and know that your body wants you to be grounded earth and sky. Okay?
Okay.
So here goes. Divine intelligence, fill my body with the feeling and knowing that I am safe to transform. Align my earth star with my heaven star and align body and soul. And if you want to share your experience, I'd love to hear it. Maritza,
Yes, I'm here.
what was that experience like?
It was fine.
Did you feel a deeper sense of being tied to the earth?
I do grounding exercises every morning. It's just I'm kind of used to doing that, but I guess I have to work on it a little bit more.
Okay, so here's the challenge, okay? And I'm going to say this with deep love and respect for you, okay? You know too much. When we know too much, we are in that one lane in the highway and not leaving room for additional stuff to come in. So let's try it one more time. Forget that you ground every morning because you're up leveling. So you know what? Your grounding needs to be up leveled as well. So take a deep breath. Let's tune into your heart. And I'm going to ask you a question. And whatever pops in your head, you say out loud, okay?
Okay.
What do you get to accept right here, right now, to know that all is well and you will receive what you need and what you desire? Would you like to share your answer?
My mind is kind of just blank.
Okay, perfect. When our mind is blank, is it blank as in nothing or is it blank as in gray?
Blank as in nothing.
Okay, perfect. So what you get to accept is just a pause. So throughout the day, when you're feeling anxiety-ridden, you're going to take a deep breath and you're just going to tune into that blankness again. And then you're going to ask yourself, what's the next divinely inspired action? And then you get to take that step. That way you're more in the flow of what you want and what you need. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Does that support you?
Yes, it does.
And feel free to share or email me anything else And if you want, I can send you that up level of grounding for you so you can kind of really ground yourself, because you're used to that way that you have been grounding, and it becomes kind of like the lampshade. And so we can start to outsmart ourselves in practices that we keep doing time and time again. And when we're up leveling, we just kind of need to shake the tree a little.
Sure, that makes sense.
Thank you so much for calling in.
All right, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Maritza.
Thank you.
I totally resonate with that, Jen. I think that was something that I experienced too. We have these daily practices that when we go through it, we're used to them. And like you said, it's kind of like the lampshade. And we need to diversify or, up level the different exercises that we're utilizing, because when you do them over and over and over, you get to a new stage and the exercises are no longer as effective.
Right. Listen, as the consciousness grows, so does the ego. And I love ego. Without ego, we'd be all sitting on our couch thinking our big thoughts, right? Ego helps us create action, but it can get tricky. And so anytime that you say, I've done that, I do that, I know, those are all egos, and I've done it, trust me. Those are all egos, really tricky ways to go, right? You don't need to work on that because you think you've done it. It's this kind of really easy, subtle sabotage, right? Mm-hmm. There's a difference between resistance and not resonating. I'd rather have someone go, you know what, that doesn't resonate with me. And I'd be cool with that.
You'd rather have someone
say it doesn't resonate rather than be in resistance.
Right.
Right? And we really, truly do know what that feels like in our body. I think we trick ourselves. When it doesn't resonate, there's no charge around it. I don't like cauliflower. Okay? You don't hear me like, oh my God, I don't like cauliflower. I don't like cauliflower, right? If I'm going, oh my God, I don't like cauliflower, I'm in resistance.
Right.
It doesn't resonate. And so, this is a journey. And I know one thing, Kristen. I know the more I know, the less I know. And I'm very clear, like I know nothing. And the more that I can be open to that, the more I can be curious about that, the easier my practice, the easier my journey is. There's a thing about being accurate about facts and not accurate, right? So I'm accurate that my name is Jennifer Urezzio. I live blah, blah, blah. I'm, 47 years old. I had to think for a moment. And those are all accurate statements, okay? When people want to be right or wrong, that tends to be pride and resistance. And I believe that doesn't support their expansion. And that means that they're trying to control things. And control and universal flow do not mix.
Right. Yeah. No, that resonates a lot, because all of the times that I have attempted to be in control, I've been out of flow. And when I'm in flow, I allow.
Beautifully said.
So, and I know that that's true for others as well.
Yeah.
So what, and we've touched on this a little bit, but I think I'm looking for a little depth, a little greater depth. How does listening to one's soul lead to success? Greater success?
I believe that when you listen to your soul, you have a lot more information about any situation than those five senses are ever going to clue you in. And so you will make decisions not based on what those five senses tell you, but something greater. if here's a perfect example. So I was going to do this event with someone, a co-facilitator, and I signed the contract the first time, and it was for an event space, and we had to move the date. And I'm very action oriented, and the contract kept moving around my desk, and I couldn't sign that contract. And so I was like, okay, so I really need to pause and I need to listen here why. And what I heard was have a conversation with her. So I called her up and I'm like, I can't sign this contract and I wanted to talk to you about it. She's like, well, I don't think we could do this event. I don't think anyone's going to show up. And I thought, oh, this is not the right person to do this event for. If I sign this contract, I am going to be personally responsible for $25,000. Okay, let's not sign this contract. If I was to do that with, oh my God, just get over it, Jennifer, just sign the contract, right? Mm-hmm. With my five senses, I would have been in a lot of trouble.
Right.
So I think when you listen to that inner soul, when you listen to that guidance, you are going to understand things on a totally different level than you would normally understand. You have a lot more information at your disposal than just the mind is going to come up with.
Mm-hmm. That tuning in, that practice of tuning in on a daily basis. I know that in my experience, I've noticed a shift because when I tap in to my intuition, tap into soul, I agree with you. It's completely different than using my five senses. And it's a different awareness. And it's really about sitting and tuning in and listening to the messages. And when I say listening, it's not always, again, from hearing, but it's an internal knowing. So, and that's how it is for me. So because other people may be experiencing this for the first time, how might they expect to receive these messages? Is it that they'll hear a voice? Is it that they'll have a gnawing or a knowing? What could somebody else expect if they begin on this journey and start asking this question, asking this one daily question that you suggested a little earlier? How might they expect to receive a message? Because as we all know, sometimes what we're looking for is not what we get.
Right.
And, what might someone who's new to this be aware of?
Well, first of all, it's not going to be like TV, so you can let that go right now. And second of all, it's going to use your database of information. Occasionally, yes, on certain levels, you're going to get a word or something or a visual that you might not understand, okay? But it's going to work on your database. And so you might get visuals, you might get feelings in your body, you might get a knowing, like you don't know how you know it, but it kind of just pops in your head. You might get colors or voices or smells. There are all different, ways that our intuition and our soul, converse with us. So, that question, part of that experience of asking that question is to see what comes up, what comes across your screen. Is it something that pops in your head? Is it a sensation in your body? Is this knowing that you don't know how you just know it? It's almost like a wave. Do you get a color? Do you get a smell? And then start making notes. And then from there, you're going to start to see a pattern. So those are some of the ways that people get that in the intuition. It comes in different forms. I remember, and when you practice enough, what's going to happen is at some moment, you're going to think that the conversation with your soul is not happening. I remember calling up a friend and going, oh my God, I'm, not intuitive anymore. I'm not having a conversation with my soul anymore. She goes, really? And I go, yeah. And she asked me a question. I went, oh, blah, 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 blah. She's like, yeah, no, you're not intuitive. Because it comes so naturally. And then you get to sit down and ask more questions to expand more. This is a conversation and it's very personal. And that's why I love soul language, because it's a starting off point, but it's so personal. So, let's try something. Do you want to play with me, Kristen?
I do.
Yay. Okay. So just take a deep breath, focus on your heart. And everyone can play with at home. If you're driving, listen to the replay for this, okay?
Right.
So here goes. What is the number one way that your soul communicates to you? What is the number one way that your soul communicates to you? And I'll share my answer if you'll share yours.
Of course. It's not a voice like I hear it with my ears. It's like it bubbles up and I just hear the word or I see it, and I don't see it with like alphabet. I just hear it. It's like an inner knowing.
Beautiful. Okay, so now you guys have all this knowledge, and I'll share mine in a second. So now you have all this knowledge, and now you can start to look for it and build on it. Okay?
Right.
If you wanted something differently, you can ask for it. You can say, okay, I don't really understand what that meant. Can you give it to me in a visual? Can you give it to me in a sound? Can you give it to me in a knowing? And start to build those gifts and talents there. Mine was very unusual. Mine was through song, and I went, oh, what does that mean? Like, we're going to get some things that you need to ask another question for.
Right.
And so I did. I was like, well, what does that mean? And my soul went, are you kidding? How many times do you think a question, you have a question come up and then you turn on the radio or your iPad goes and it gives you the answer? And I went, oh, look at that, right? So don't discount all of those external, which aren't really external, you're kind of flipping those switches, way that the universe and your soul communicates with you. And allow those to happen too, and acknowledge those at the end of the day. Like, wow, I was feeling this at the moment, and, a bluebird landed on the deck. Those are really important. Those are letting you know that universe, tree, Bob, God, divine, whatever you call it, knows who you are and is rooting for you, because that's the truth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's funny because whenever I've had a worry, and I can remember one specific event when I was sitting outside and I was really concerned about something that I was going through. And I just said, divine intelligence, send me a message. What do I need to know right now? So I tuned in, and the reason I remember this is because you mentioned a bird. So I heard a bird chirping, and the bird landed on a branch on the tree, and I just watched the bird for a minute. And of course, I just heard in that moment, the bird is supported by the branch, just as you were universally supported. And so, although the message came like that, the truth from it was trust, believe, know like you know, and remember that. And so that's something that honestly, and I'm completely happy to share it, that I forget quite frequently. I forget that. So I will go off into my little tizzy, and I will go off into my, and then I have to tap back in. And that is most frequently the message that I get. You are supported. Keep going, girl. Like, keep going. You are supported. You are universally supported. Trust. Trust that every action you're taking is for your greater good. And I also recognize, because I used to be attached to the outcome, like, okay, is this going to get me where I want to go? Is this going to get me where I want to go? And I tapped in a different time, and I heard, you've got to trust that every step you take is teaching you something. there's a lesson there that is part of your growth process, because we're all growing. Just because we're teachers or just because we're healers doesn't mean we don't grow or we have all the answers. Like you said earlier, sometimes the fact that we know a lot also reflects that we know nothing.
Right. Yeah.
So
I mean,
maintaining that humbleness.
Yeah. And, that's why making notes about it is so important, right? Mm-hmm. Because when you make notes about it, it allows you to go, oh, wow, look how supported I am. And to keep remembering that support and to keep building on it. Because we do forget, our mind will hold on to the bad more often than it will hold on to the good.
Of course. Right. So that's something that when you tune in, the messages come. Because if I was not tuning in that moment to say, okay, what do I need right now? And that's something to remember. That's a practice. You've got to tune in to get the messages. And so I tell a lot of my clients, like, this is a marathon, not a sprint. And I will tell them, the practices of taking action every day, whether you're a writer and you want to write a book or you want to write, you've got to practice writing. If you are wanting a sculpted physique, you've got to be working on that every day. So whatever that is, athletes, and I know we're in the middle of the Olympics, but the athletes, they don't get up one day and say, hey, I'm headed to the Olympics. They have practiced every single day. And I resonate with that. And I share that with my clients to say, you don't become just this intuitive overnight and snap your fingers. You've got to tune in and turn that on and work with that energy, work with divine intelligence every day, which is, I hear what you're saying in your work is that's that practice. Mm-hmm. And it grows that connection.
Yes. And it's why would you just have a conversation with your best friend once, and then not do it for 6 months? How is that going to be a good relationship?
Right.
And so this is about you. If you really want to transform your life and transcend it, this is your participation. This is the way you get there, from moving from struggle, because you're struggling by choice. It's all a choice.
Right.
To move into consciousness by choice.
And since I've been connecting with my soul and divine intelligence, I feel a lot more confident. So I think that that's another way that people can gain confidence, because you're connecting to the divine, you're connecting to within. And so many times, and I see this with my clients, and you probably see this with yours as well, it's the external where people are reaching out. And because my soul, and I'm going to pull it up just so I can read it, and I had pulled it up earlier. My soul one-liner for myself and others is provide messages, structures, and new ways of being in the consciousness of love. And so what I see a lot in my clients is that they're not in the consciousness of love. And so I help them lead back to love themselves from within, and to guide them back to that consciousness of love, because they're out of alignment in terms of their self-worth and self-doubt and not having the confidence and questioning themselves and imposter syndrome. And the women that I work with are so high achieving. Right. They're amazing, amazing women, but somebody's going to find out that I'm a fraud. Somebody's going to find out that I'm a phony. And I work with them to connect back to that inner knowing of, hey, you've got to go back within to find that consciousness of love, to work on loving yourself in order to really feel full. But they're constantly looking for that fullness outside of themselves, right? Yeah. And you help people to connect to their soul, which does something similar to connect with the divine.
Yeah. I mean, when you connect to that inner knowing, that fullness, as you put it, that I am, that wholeness and completeness,
right.
the place where you've never been hurt, nor will you ever been hurt, and you make decisions from there, you are making decisions on more solid ground than if you were to make a decision based on past pain or fear.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and this is a choice and a selection process. You know, fear is just an indication that you want something bigger. Fear is just an indication that you feel disconnected. And so when I'm in fear, the thing I do is, okay, I'm not connected to my soul. Let's reconnect. Consciously, I'm always connected. But when you make that conscious effort, when you're kind of, instead of text messaging yourself, we're actually having a one-on-one, face-to-face conversation, it allows things to change in a dramatic way that, you know, it's hard to put tangible words to. You have to be in it. You have to participate in it. You have to feel it. It feels freeing to me. It feels joyful. It feels glorious. And then from there, I can make choices that create those experiences in my outer world.
Right. What is one thing that you want the listeners to remember from our conversation today that they can take with them?
That they are whole and complete, and to activate it simply by asking divine intelligence to fill their body with the knowing that they are whole and complete. If you do that one tool a day, it will change your life.
Right. Right. And so where can people find you on social media, your website? Where can people connect with you if they're looking to get their soul language identified, which is what you do, is you not just help people connect with their soul, but this soul language, which you said there's 107, correct?
Yeah, there's 107 different core languages. We each speak 3.
Right.
And people can reach out to me at soullanguage.us or on the Spiritual Renegades group on Facebook, or Soul Language on Twitter. I answer my own phone. I pick up my own emails. So please feel free to contact and reach out. And the website has a lot of free audios, and you can sign up for my newsletter. So again, that's soullanguage.us.
Awesome. And you're on Twitter at Soul Language?
Yes.
Awesome. I'm so excited that you were on today. This has been so amazing. And I love that you shared soul language with us. And I do think that this is something that everybody, you know, can really work on within themselves, is growing that connection to the divine and to their soul.
Thank you so much. You know how much I adore you. You know how much I know you're, you know, a spiritual rock star, and it's just an honor to be on your show. So thank you so much.
It's an honor to have you here. You're just as much of a rock star. I'm so blessed and grateful to have had the opportunity to work with you and have you on today. So thanks for saying yes.
Yay.
So thank you, everyone, for listening. It has been another amazing show. To continue the conversation, hop on over to the Seekers group on Facebook, www.facebook.com/groups/The Seekers Path. And to grab your very own Seekers Guide workbook, head on over to KristenLloyd.com and click on free gifts. Until next time, know that you are meant for more and keep seeking.
Thanks for tuning in to Meant for More, the Seeker's Guide to Success. But the fun doesn't end here. Head over to KristenLloyd.com for your Seeker's Guide workbook filled with exercises to help you go from mediocre to magically magnificent.